Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, my friends. We got our first proper balance patch for Guilty Gear Strive, and in this video we're going to go over all of it. Now we have only the patch notes. The patch itself is not live just yet. When the time comes, we'll do another visual guide just to showcase some of the bigger changes. But for now, let's go over everything we now know is coming to Guilty Gear Strive. Also to note, there's a lot of changes, but the big patch is coming in October. So if you're looking for like massive changes, that isn't this patch, that'll be the next patch, but just so you know. Now, let's start with the overall system level stuff that matters. So obviously a big part of this patch is getting prepped for Jacko, right? Jacko should be going live tomorrow. But one of the things here that really sticks out is reduced input delay for the PS4 Pro and PS5 versions of the game. Now, a lot of people have talked to me about specifically that. I actually primarily play on PS5, right? And a lot of people are like, man, do you not notice the input delay? And honestly, I never really did. But less input delay, hey, that's fine by me. I'll definitely take it. As you would expect with any given patch, there's definitely a bunch of bug fixes here. Not really too much worth mentioning, and as always with any ArcSys game, when the patch updates, you're going to lose all your replays. So if you want to save any particular replay, do it now before the patch goes live. So right before we get to the character specifics, I do want to go over this one here as it's written. So character balance and bug fixes. Adjustments to the battle balance are planned to take place in August, that's this patch, and October, that'll be the next patch. This update focuses on changes to identified issues, such as individual moves. We are also currently looking into improving and making changes to overall mechanics as well as certain actions, such as projectile special moves and grounded overhead attacks in the update scheduled for October. So once again, the October update is going to be a bigger deal than this one, so look forward to that. So now let's get into the character specifics, and let's start with Soul Badguy. So Soul got a fair amount of changes, but he's definitely not gonna be anything less than probably still the best character, just so you know. So as they write it themselves, change focus on differentiating the properties of his normals as well as the situation after his special moves are blocked. So one of the first things they mention here is Ford S. You guys know it, you guys love it, you guys hate it, right? Depending on which side of the sword you're on, I guess. So it says specifically, decrease the hitbox at the top and the bottom of the attack and increase the hitbox around his feet. Now what I'm assuming is this, because sometimes you can catch people in the start of their jump very easily, so that'll help tune that down. And it hits so low to the ground that you can't 6P it. Like, it's just not possible. Most big pokes, if you know the big poke is coming, you can 6P it. Not so much with his Ford S because it hits so low to the ground. So if the hitbox is raised up a little bit, you should now be able to 6P it, because as it currently stands, you'll just get beat out for free. Now you can 6P it if you're closer, but the whole point is, why would you not use the move at its max range, right? So this is specifically for max range Ford S. Crouching S, this guy here, why not buffs? Why not buff the best character in the game, right? So for Crouching S, they say it's not used frequently and has been buffed and now serves a different use from other normals at mid-range. Specifically, increase the attack's active time. I'm assuming they mean the active frames. The hitbox during the additional active frames has been slightly extended in front of Soul, meaning it has more range to work with. So there you go. Stand S, you know it, you love it, you hate it. Has increased pushback. It's very slight, but they state the main thing here is it'll be much more noticeable if you faultless defense it. Because as it stands, faultless defense, you're never getting pushed out, right? Like, can I go all the way to the corner? Oh my god, I actually can go all the way to the corner before getting pushed out. Okay, so there you go, right? I actually just surprised myself. So yeah, so now if you want to faultless defense against it, the pushback will be much more extreme in the end. That's the real change here. So he can't just abuse this all day long. Crouch kick knockback has been reduced, so they're actually going less far back, because the main thing here is exactly that, right? A lot of characters, you can do crouch, kick, and the sweep, and you'll just whiff. More than one character has this change. This is a very good change because I don't want to get punished for correctly getting the hit, right? That sucks. It says here, S version of Volcanic Viper. This is the weak version of the uppercut. It has its active frames extended, making it more viable as an anti-air attack. I didn't really think it had a problem, but I guess they did, so there you go. That gets a nice little buff. However, the one thing, since it has more overall active frames, that means on whiff, he'll be out there for a little bit longer, so it's easier to punish. So for Bandit Bringer, this has been changed up specifically. It says after blocking, it was difficult for both players to predict what would happen. Hey, that's very fair to say. It is now easier to put distance between soul and opponent after it's been blocked, meaning the pushback has been increased, and the situation is less likely to be impacted by the startup time of the opponent's close range option. So specifically, greatly increased knockback and increased landing recovery. Increased landing recovery is specifically on the air version. If you do it grounded, you're good to go, just more knockback. Because, you know, depending on, okay, did I hit like your knee or did I hit your feet, right? And that could wildly change the frame data. Then all of a sudden, who's mashing first? Saul might win, Saul might lose. Now it's just going to be easier to guess all around. And back to buffs, Wild Throw is command grab. So before Wild Throw, you didn't really get anything if you RC'd it, right? So now, if you RC it in the new upcoming patch, it'll actually pop you up proper style. It states here the frequency, like people just didn't use it over the regular throw. Because, you know, the regular throw, you actually get an RC combo, right? So this is to add some attractiveness to the move. And Heavy Mob Cemetery, this guy here, will have a new command. Because if you accidentally hit forward, it might give you Tyrant Rave instead. So it has an all new command. So that's Soul. So once again here, best character in the game is... There's some nerfs, yes. Like this, being able to probably, I'm hoping that's why I'm correct, because once again, the patch isn't live yet. That means you'll be able to like 6p it at max range. That'll be cool. Or at least, you know, even if you can't 6p it, you'll just both whiff through each other. So there is small nerfs, but there definitely also is straight up buffs, like Crouch S, which was kind of a dead button, I'm not gonna lie. That's getting buffed, that's good. Being able to reliably go like Crouch Kick in the sweep, that change should be very helpful. Command grab buffs, because why not, right? So he got some small stuff, but he also got buffed. For Kai, one of the first big changes here, Stun Dipper. It is now easier to get both hits of Stun Dipper to connect at max range. Because sometimes you can get that first hit, and the second hit, good luck, because you just whiffed, right? That can be a very frustrating aspect of the move. It's not always going to happen, right? But when it does happen, you just want to bury your head into the controller, right? So it is easier for both moves to connect now, or both hits rather, at longer ranges. One of the big changes here is Standing S. So you'd think, you know, this is one of his main pokes, and it is, right? But it's definitely had some issues, and it's less attractive a lot of times compared to Crouching S. So specifically, reduced recovery, so this will recover faster. It's a monstrous -11 on block, which was never great. And also made it more easily affected by dash momentum, because if I like dash into it, like look at this, I just immediately stop. And if I get like a full run in, like I barely go anywhere. Compared to a lot of other characters that get like a lot of momentum out of a dashing normal, he got nothing, right? So with less recovery overall, and being able to like kind of dash poke with it, this should make it a much more attractive move. Crouch Kick, similar to Soul, just making it so less pushback, so when you're doing like max range, you don't just whiff. Like, that really sucks. This is the case for a lot of characters. I really like those changes. The Dragon Install, big thing for Kai, except almost nobody uses it, right? Because it has a lot of downsides. Now, those downsides are less. So, the meter penalty it had, it is much less drastic than what it was before. And also the actual activation, because Dragon Install does have a hit attached to it, right? You can blow people back. The actual animation is much faster now. It says sped up the attack startup on activation. So if you want to use the hit part as maybe part of a combo, or just to get off me or whatever, like that works. They state specifically, it greatly increases Kai's average damage output after activation. We intended it to be a valuable option, but it resulted in the move being underpowered and not used very frequently because like the meter nerf. So hopefully this will get people using Dragon Install more and more. It caused us to reevaluate the move, including buffs to the activation. For May, first thing up here, Stand HS, Stand Heavy, now has less overall recovery. Considering, you know, as they say, like, you know, Stand S has so much range, so many options, Stand HS not so much. They have reduced the recovery to make up for it. The move was negative 15 on block, so should be significantly less now. They have also specifically toned down Stand S. They write it down here. We have reduced the lower hitbox and hurt box of her far standing S and reduced the active time of her crouching S. This is getting the hammer too, because this is like one of the best normals in the game. It's now more vital to choose which of her normals to use in a given situation, because before you just screeched until your lungs bled and smashed the button. So for far stand S, decreasing the lower hitbox means it should be able to whiff on crouchers at max range. That's the way I'm interpreting this. And for crouching S, this guy here, decrease the active time, so less active overall frames, and expanded the hurt box in front of May. In case you're unaware, this is like one of the most disjointed normals in the game. Like the ability to hit May is so far behind the actual anchor while doing this move. So now it should be more in line with how other normals work, and just more in line with just general pokes. It's still going to be a great poke, don't get me wrong, right? Even if they make it no disjointed hitbox at all. But with the disjointed hitbox, it's overwhelmingly strong. Now, to make up for some of these nerfs, she's going to become a better grappler. So mid-screen, after the command grab, they will be blown back less far. It'll be closer. They state here before the only real follow-ups were in the corner. Like, you can get a big combo in the corner. And mid-screen, like, ew. Like, you could dolphin, I guess. That was about it, right? So now you can get proper follow-ups mid-screen, although there will be some adjustments to the damage. But overall, it'll make her command grab a lot more valuable to use outside of the corner. So maybe slightly less oppressive, gigantic buttons. Probably only slightly, too. Don't think they're going to get crippled, right? And a stronger overall grappling game. For Axel, he actually is getting buffs to his base pokes, his Ps here. It states it was hard for him to get significant returns from his standing punch, and as a Goldlewis player to editorialize, I thought he got plenty of returns, okay, because this was impossible to get around. So it said it was hard for him to get returns from standing and crouching punch from mid-range despite the risk of them losing out to the opponent's attack. So it can now combo into the snail even on grounded hit. Snail being this guy here. So as it currently stands, this does not combo, like at all, right? Either the stand, the crouch, doesn't matter. So now that it becomes a natural combo, this begets a lot stronger. Now, Snail's pretty negative on block, right? So you definitely, if you're going to be canceling it, you want to do it kind of from like the max range of the move. But just having more poke options is decent. Like, that definitely helps out quite a bit. Also, there is a change to One Vision. That's the time stop move, right? So as they say it, it is now easier to use One Vision in combos as the ready stance can be canceled into from special moves. So, like using Snail as our example again here, right? So, I can't obviously do anything combo-wise with this, right? But with the new change, I can, say, get my new fancy 2-hit combo, and then immediately go into One Vision from that, and then time stop immediately out of that as well. So, his combo potential with meter is now going to be much higher. To finish off what they were saying, it is now easier to make use of it in situations where a Roman cancel could not lead to a big follow-up such as long range, as we were mentioning, or when moving during the time stop would make an opportunity for a wall break combo. And as a final bonus, just like Dragon Install, while you're in the time stop mode waiting to do it, there was a bit of a meter penalty, and it says decrease the time of the tension penalty while in that state. So hopefully you'll gain a little bit more meter. Okay, so for Chipp, the first one, and you knew this one was coming here, right? This guy is getting nerfed. So as they say it, there was too much of a difference in facing opponents who could anti-air his jumping down kick, this drill kick. It is now easier for anti-airs to hit him during the descent. Now specifically it states, for his down kick, adjusted the attack's range, and increased the lower hurt box, as well as the behind and front of Chipp. So the hurt box all around is getting bigger, so it'll be more easy to 6P it or jump throw him, or just otherwise try to beat it at all, because beating this move is not in the cards for a lot of characters, sadly. Now that said, it says reduce the knockback. So as they say, Chipp can now continue his offense after making contact with the move. I don't think they're saying you can directly combo from it, but the fact that there's less knockback means he's going to be more on top of you after it if he does successfully get it. So if he gets it, I guess it's better, but at least it'll be easier to stop now. Far Stand S now has less of a hitbox at the bottom of the move, making it easier for people to low profile the move or to be able to 6P it, because as it stands, it hits so low to the ground that would still hit you in your feet, meaning you couldn't really 6P it in any real way. So the move will be just kind of toned down a bit. There'll be more counterplay against the move, because as it stands, it was a pretty oppressive normal. Crouch S, this guy here, similar to Kai, can now be affected by dash momentum in a real way, because normally here when you're running and you do it, you just kind of stop dead. So now he'll be able to glide with the move a little bit. So it'll be more useful to like just kind of run in and do it, especially because stand S be getting nerfed a bit, right? So just running in and stand S is going to be less attractive. So now you have this as an alternative, right? So you want to pick one or the other, so you have to think through which is the correct move for the correct situation. Overall, some very tiny nerfs. Chipp's still one of the best characters in the game. Potemkin, small changes but welcome changes. First up here, forward kick, that's the big old shoulder, has, well, reduced recovery. It states here, it is now more difficult for the opponent to punish Potemkin when he blocks the latter half of the active frames of the move. So as it stands, it's negative 12 on block, which, like, you had to special cancel or you get beat up, right? And the special cancel mix-up game was a whole thing. Like, okay, I can do this in the flick, but I can 6P or jab a button through it, depending on the character. So then if you're going to do that, then I'll do this into slide head to catch that in the armor, and I'll get my knock. There's just a bunch of games, right? Because you couldn't just do this by itself, or you would die. But now, potentially, it might be safe on block if you space it correctly, right? Just to give them a tool to get in besides just smashing Mega Fist all day long. And don't worry, we're still going to keep doing that. That'll be fine, right? And the other change is Heat Knuckle. That's the big old anti-air grab, right? So technically it has a guard break attached to it. You can block it, though, in the air, so it wasn't very valuable, honestly. There's a couple gimmicks with unblockable setups, but, like, realistically, that almost never happened. So they're just going to make it better. So as they state, they're greatly increasing the merit of the move. So as it stands, it says, made it easier to gain tension when blocked. I'm assuming just means you get more meter if it's blocked. And greatly increase the opponent's risk level on block. Now, if you have a look at Leo here, look at that risk gain. That is, like, literally nothing. It would take me like 100 of these to max out the risk gauge. So it's probably more in line with like Garuda Impact or something like that. Just give like some kind of reward, right? Because at a lot of the ranges, if it's blocked, technically you're a little bit plus, but it's going to be too far away to enforce anything other than just, you know, do like stand S and they can just block that for free. So hopefully this makes it a more attractive option to work with. For Faust, one of the first changes here is Bone Crushing Excitement. That is the wheelchair super. Can now wall break in the corner, which is great. That will actually really help his overall combo damage, because it always brings you back to mid-screen no matter what, right? So now you can get your wall splat, you can get your super, you get your bonus wall break damage. This will help increase his overall damage by a fair bit. That is a very good change. Other changes coming his way. Stand Heavy Slash, this guy here, has now more active frames overall. The way they put it is easier for Faust to prevent the opponent's approach using this proved move. So as it stood, it had 2 active frames. That's it. That's pretty anemic. So now, they don't say the exact number, but it'll have more active frames. And also the free mini grab follow-up, it now states here it'll have increased damage. So overall, the move will just be more useful. For Crouching Heavy Slash, that's this guy here. It states greatly increases pressure at mid-range when combined with the increase to its crouching heavy slash hitbox and faster startup on his jump down kick. We'll talk about that in a second. But crouching HS. So decreased the hurt box on startup, so I guess it's just a little easier, or a little harder rather, to poke him out of it, and extended the hitbox in front of Faust. So I'm assuming to read, as it's written, that the move just plain old has more range. So if like from here it'll whiff, and maybe it'll just have a couple pixels more range. That'll be a welcome change. Hopefully that's the way it is, that it'll have more range. So it'll give him something solid to poke with, besides just going for stand S, or going for like the home run swing with the spear poke, right? Now, jump down kick. So, it says here, sped up the attack startup, so the move itself will start up faster. Reduce the hurt box before the attack comes out, so it's less likely to get stuffed by XYZ. And adjusted the opponent blowback on hit. Now that is, they don't elaborate on that, so that one's a little tricky to read into. I guess we'll know when the patch goes live how that'll turn out exactly, but it reads as just a strict buff. So it's not a mountain of changes to be sure, but even just the super doing a wall break, that's a huge buff for him, a huge buff to his damage, and just some decent quality of life stuff. For Millia Rage, one of the things they identify off the bat here is, in order to make her grounded attacks more viable, the recovery of her standing heavy slash has been reduced. So as it stands, this move is -12 on block, which is punishable. So overall, it just makes it, you know, you can toss it out and you don't have to immediately commit to like a special or something, right? You can just let it rock by itself. That's how I'm choosing to read this. Going from that, Lust Shaker, this guy right here, it says the attack startup has been sped up. As it stands, it's pretty slow. Like if you want to do this into Lust Shaker, you could definitely get poked out. So that just should make her block string stuff a little bit better overall. The S version of Tandem Top, that's this guy right here. So now has faster startup. So they say now can be used on combos off hit confirm. So something like this right here, right? That was a 3-hit combo. That did not connect. It did connect there. Like, it's very finicky, right? So now things like this should be more reliable. Like any basic hit confirm, whatever string you get, all this should be more reliable. It should just work the way you think it should, right? So basically, this is buffs to neutral Millia. You know, better heavy slash, more combo opportunities with slash tandem top, Lust Shaker, being faster startup, probably combos in a lot of situations it never would before. So Rushdown Millia is good. Footsie's neutral Millia, hit confirms, all that kind of stuff is getting buffed. For Zato 1, the big changes basically are, as they put it, we have mainly improved his options when you cannot summon Eddie. Obviously, when Eddie's out and doing his thing, Zato feels like the best character in the game, and without Eddie, things are definitely a lot rougher, right? So one of the changes here is standing heavy slash. That's this guy right here. Increase the attack's active time. Now, it currently stands at 6 frames, which is not bad, right? But maybe they're making it more in line with the actual animation, so it's just active for longer, and also increase the hitbox in front of Zato during the additional time. Because, like, stuff like this, it looks like it's hitting him, right? But obviously not, it's whiffing. So perhaps the hitbox is now more in line with the actual animation, just making it a better poke overall. For 6P, forward and punch, states, now blows the opponent back on regular hit. Because as it stands, obviously does not, right? Making it a more reliable choice to take control from the opponent. And it says, can also now combo into stand punch at close range. So I guess we'll have to see how that goes. Like, if you use it as like a counter hit and air move, it'll blow people back. I don't know if it's like going to be a knockdown effect. But more just control of the screen if it knocks them back. And if you get like even a 2-hit combo, that's definitely pretty cool. Also, specifically, it says here, sped up the attack startup, so it should come in faster than it currently does. Right now, it starts at 13 frames, so it might be faster. Also now, Eddie stuff here. While you have Eddie out, if you recall Eddie, it says the summon will be canceled faster. So I guess Eddie cancels are just going to be faster and better. For Ramlethal Valentine, one of the first changes here, Daro, that is this move right here, has increased forward movement. So now, well, basically as it states, right? Increased forward movement, the move can hit from further away. So it could be that like certain combos offer longer range normals, it actually might connect now, right? It does at specific ranges, but at the absolute tip, it would always whiff. So if something like this now connects, that's honestly a fairly big deal. So I guess we'll have to wait and see how that goes specifically. Now, Aggressa Ordono. That's just her Corsical back S in the air, this guy here. It'll now, it states, float an opponent on a grounded hit when both swords are equipped. So float specifically sounds like a launcher to me. So that would make this move much more useful. I guess we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. It states here, can now lead to a knockdown against a grounded opponent on hit, greatly increasing the benefit of landing with it. Because as it stands, the move is of mildly dubious use. Jump HS, this guy right here. Reduce the lower hitbox behind and in front of Ramlethal. So it says here, aerial HS, it is now easier for her to lose to anti-air attacks due to the decrease of the hitbox on both sides. Because as it stands, this move, you can try to 6P it all you want, it's going to crush it most of the time, right? So overall, Ramlethal, very interesting changes. Daro change is one I'm very interested to see how that goes, the range buff. Because if it allows for situations to hit like that, that'll definitely increase her overall damage by a lot. But otherwise, not changed too much. So for Leo, the only change is the Brynhildr stance. It says, increased his options during Brynhildr stance, making it easier to open up the opponent's defense, like it was somehow hard to do before. So one thing's just, I don't know, the bug fix or something. So now it says during forward or backward movement, if you use the dash button, you'll always forward dash. So if I'm hitting back and dash button, I guess it'll be a forward dash now. I don't know. That one's a little hard to read. I guess we'll have to wait and see how that works when the patch actually goes live. But kick, while you're in stance, now can be dash and jump canceled. So as it stands, like it was just whatever it was, right? But now if you can dash and jump cancel it, that means you can get a little more cheeky with the pressure, right? So I could go like kick, 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 and like dash back in, kick, kick. And then once you read the dash, and it's kick, 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 haha, conked you in the head, right? If you try to hit a button to stop the dash. So that can definitely lead to more aggression and more layers of offense. But otherwise than that, Leo's pretty unchanged. He's already a great character, so he definitely didn't need more buffs than the buff he actually got. So Nagoriyuki, one of the first things, and they spend a lot of words talking about this, but basically, Nagoriyuki, sometimes when you did it, it could accidentally like blow back the opponent behind you, so there'll be like no wall break. So now it should always wall break. Besides that, his forward P has been buffed to 6P. So it sped up the attack startup, it says. Now, as it currently stands, it was 13 frames startup. This is also similar to how Zato had it, right? So it looks like it'll be faster overall to connect. And it says here, Far Standing S, big old poke chain series, this guy right here. So the follow-up from Far Standing S makes it easy to decrease the blood gauge. This capability has been further buffed. So as it stands, the third hit specifically, so there, as far as this blood gauge stuff works, slash hits barely reduce the blood gauge, and all the heavies like heavily reduce the blood gauge. The third hit scaled like a heavy, so it'd be like, you know, 6HS, something like that, right? So it's saying it's being further buffed. So maybe, who knows, man? So if it's going to drain blood even more than like a 6HS, it might make it very valuable to end certain combos with this. It already has great corner carry, will pretty much always lead to a wall splat in combos. So it's just another way to mitigate the blood gauge. So for comparison's sake, when the patch goes live, let's just look at the blood drain as it is. And then I guess we'll know how comparatively advanced it is once the patch goes live. As it stands, that's what the blood drain is. We'll see when the patch goes live, I guess. But yeah, so sounds like overall this is just going to be more useful for draining blood. For Giovanna, pretty small changes for now. Once again, this isn't the big patch. That'll be October. Forward P, 6P. Sped up the attack startup. She's also in the 13 frame 6P club. So like some of the other characters getting that change, it'll be made faster. Now it says here specifically when the final hit of forward heavy slash connects, that's the target combo here. She is now in a better position for Okazeme. There is now merit to choosing not to cancel into a special move, depending on the situation. So it says here, forward heavy slash final hit, follow-up, knocks the opponent down on hit, which obviously it does, right? But it might be, it knocks down, like there's less of that blowback, right? Like it might be a true hard knockdown. Like I'm directly on top of you, you don't get the tech out, like a lot more pressure. So that could be very helpful for her. And that's it. She's not really been in a bad position in the game. So it's just quality of life changes. Anji actually got some decent changes here. First up, Fujin. You can now cancel into all the Fujin options, even on whiff. So that was one of the things here. Obviously on hit, you can do whatever given option, right? But on whiff, you can now still choose all the options. So now you can go into the overhead on whiff. You can go into projectile on whiff. Maybe the birth of weird Anji zoning, whiffing Fujin to go into the projectile toss. I don't know, right? But all your options are now available to you on whiff or on hit, as it always was before. Also, Fujin buff further yet, because increase the forward movement, so it should hit from further away than it currently does. Stan S got a significant buff here, so it has reduced recovery. As it stands, this move is a monstrous negative 15 on block. Like, whoa, that's too much. That's too much. So now with better recovery, it should be a much more reasonable amount, meaning you don't get punished for going for a basic poke. Also, two other changes here. So his fan super has a better hitbox. It states specifically just to make sure it always wall breaks. And the fan toss after Fujin, this guy right here. So increase the attack's active time, so more active frames on the fan toss, I'm assuming, and extended the hitbox, so they should hit from further away than they currently do. So Anji probably could use even more than what he got here, but he definitely got a fair bit. This should definitely help him a lot. These are very strong quality of life changes. For Ino, one of the first things I want to talk about here, this is a change other characters got too. Crouch kick having reduced pushback, but this is a much bigger change for her because crouch kick into sweep is one of the core tenets of her game plan, right? You do this, go in the note, keep your pressure going, right? The fact that it would whiff all the time, it sucks for all the characters, and it's good that all the characters that are getting this buff, but for her, it was such a critical part of her game plan, and whiffing the sweep could be death for her, right? So that is a huge buff. The basic thing, which is the core tenet of her game plan, low into sweep in the note, now will work much better because low into sweep will now connect when otherwise it would whiff as it stands right now before the patch goes live. So her grounded and aerial hover dashes, everything, it is now just faster. So increased movement speed and distance. So everything is faster and better. So her control of the air is going to be better, especially if her backwards one goes further. It's going to help her game plan a lot because you can more easily run away in the note and then go forward and challenge, that kind of stuff. So the overall ability of her movement going up helps her big time. States here, changes to her normal such as standing HS and the heavy version of Stroke the Big Tree. Create additional opportunities for combos and increase her pressure at close range. So stand HS, it says it now floats the opponent on a grounded hit. So I may be like a little bit of a soft launch. I guess we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. Also, faster startup, which is pretty cool. The heavy version of Stroke the Big Tree, reduced knockback. So they'll actually be closer to you after the move connects. So that will definitely help her combo potential. Also, going back to the basic kick sweep combo, says for sweep specifically, reduced horizontal opponent blowback on hit, so they should be just a little bit closer to you. So just making, you know, no pressure, all that kind of stuff a little bit better than it currently is. That's very good. And ultimate Fortissimo, her super moves forward more, basically, increase forward movement. Says here, buff mainly so it's easier to create wall breaks. So overall, these patch notes seem like a pretty big deal for Ino. This should definitely help a lot. She has struggled, and overall, these seem like very strong changes for her. Okay, let's go Goldlewis. Goldlewis didn't get what he needs, I'll just tell you that right now. First up, Skyfish. the machine gun. The hit effect of Skyfish will now be buffed depending on the current security level. It states it now provides major advantage on hit in level 3 in particular. The thing about Skyfish is it pushes you back really far, right? So unless level 3 Skyfish combos into like level 1 Skyfish or something, I really don't know having all this advantage on hit is going to help too much. I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. Crouching kick, reduce knockback, like many other characters, is just so he won't whiff his sweep if you go into that directly. 6P has faster startup like some other characters, but that doesn't address any of the hitbox issues, which are a multitude, let's put it that way. And they fixed his down with the system, so the glitch where the wall break doesn't occur, well, that's fixed. Now you always get your wall break. Perhaps it's because he's a newer character, they were scared to give him buffs, I don't know, but these are definitely not the changes he would have wanted, I'll put it that way, right? But yeah, that is what he got. So that is the patch as it stands. Once again, this is the August patch. The October patch is promising significant changes. Not to say the changes here aren't significant, because a lot of them are pretty dang decent, right? But the October patch seems to be a really big deal, so like we can look all forward to that, I guess. But as it stands, a lot of characters, like I'm really impressed at Anji and Ino in specifics. They got a lot that'll help them a lot. Certain characters maybe didn't get what they needed, right? But we'll see how the October patch goes. But yeah, not tons of changes, but mostly smart changes. So I'm pretty happy how this all turned out. Overall, I'd say this patch is a thumbs up. It's not live just yet as of the time of this recording, but it will be live very soon, and then we can go crazy dissecting everything from there. And my friends, that is the patch as it stands. Of course, naturally, if you want to see the full patch notes, it'll be a link in the video description. And otherwise, that is the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. Go out and play some Guilty Gear.
Love we